The lighthouse was ready for work. The lamp was prepared. The morning duties were finished. But all three keepers were gone. The Flannan Isles are a group of bare, rocky islands in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. The lighthouse stands on Eilean Moor, the largest of the islands, above cliffs exposed to the full force of the Atlantic. In 1900, the station was still new. 3 men worked there while a 4th rotated on shore. In December of that year, the keepers on duty were Principal Keeper James Duckett, Second Assistant Thomas Marshall, and Occasional Keeper Donald MacArthur. MacArthur was replacing a colleague who was ill. A passing vessel later reported that the light had not been visible around midnight on December 15th. But the report did not reach the Northern Lighthouse Board before the next scheduled supply visit. Bad weather delayed the lighthouse tender Hesperus, and it did not arrive until the afternoon of December 26th. There was no flag flying. No provision boxes waited on the landing stage. The ship sounded its horn and fired a rocket. No one appeared. Relief Keeper Joseph Moore climbed the long path to the station. He found the entrance closed and the lighthouse empty. The clocks had stopped. The men were not in their rooms, and there was no immediate sign of violence. Moore returned to the ship, then went back with several volunteers so the light could be put into operation. The surviving official records are more restrained than the legends that came later. The final log entries had been written on December 13th. Weather observations for the 14th and the morning of the 15th were noted on a slate, ready to be transferred into the log. The lamp was prepared, and the work of the morning had apparently been completed. Investigators concluded that the men most likely disappeared during the afternoon of December 15th. At the western landing, the sea had caused serious damage. Equipment had been displaced, ropes disturbed, and turf torn away high above the water. Robert Muirhead, the superintendent who investigated, believed the men had gone down to secure gear or inspect storm damage. He concluded that an unexpected large wave had swept them into the sea. That explanation remains the most practical, but it leaves a difficult question. Lighthouse rules were designed to ensure that at least one keeper stayed at the station. Why would all 3 men expose themselves near the landing at the same time? One possibility is that the emergency developed in stages. A keeper may have gone down first. A second may have followed when he saw the danger. The third, faced with a colleague in trouble, may have ignored the rule and attempted a rescue. In that sequence, there was no single decision by all 3 to abandon the light. There were only seconds of escalating risk. Popular versions of the story add details that are not supported by the official record. A half-eaten meal, a chair overturned, mysterious log entries describing unnatural fear, or a violent argument. Those images are powerful, but they blur the line between evidence and later storytelling. The Northern Lighthouse Board's own history emphasizes what was actually recorded and remembers the men as professionals who lost their lives. There are other theories. Some suggest one man attacked the others before taking his own life. Others imagine kidnapping, a passing vessel, or deliberate disappearance. None has produced physical evidence. No bodies were recovered. No personal account survived. The island itself explains why the mystery grew. For 11 days, the lighthouse stood dark and isolated while winter seas cut it off from the mainland. When the relief ship finally arrived, the scene looked paused rather than destroyed. The routine had ended after the morning work, and no one was left to say why. The official conclusion is not supernatural. It is a sudden accident at the edge of an unforgiving sea. Yet even that explanation depends on an event no witness saw. We can reconstruct the weather, the damage, and the men's probable movements. We cannot reconstruct the last moment that drew all 3 keepers away from safety. The Flannan light was relit. The station returned to service. But James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur were never found. More than a century later, the mystery is not that the Atlantic could take 3 men. It is that it left behind just enough order to make their final decision impossible to see.